This is a Canadian Berliner Model H. Once Berliner moved his operations to Canada and left the US, giving his patents or selling his patents to Eldridge Johnson, who founded Victor, Berliner started manufacturing machines in Canada, and as I've said in other videos, they resembled a lot of Victor products because there was still a lot of cooperation between him and the Victor Talking Machine Company in the US. And this one here is kind of an odd one because it's a late entrant into the market with a front mount. Front mount is the horns this way as opposed to a back mount where there's this metal bracket here and the horn is sort of up in this area. Back mounts were becoming more popular then with their tapered tone arms, so the sound was really an improvement. So this came out at the time that they were really phasing this style of gramophone out. These machines came pre-drilled with holes to put a back mount on it. That way, if the owner decided at a later date they wanted to upgrade to a newer style machine, it was ready to accept all the parts that are required to make it a back mount machine. Victor in the US did exactly the same thing, with one little difference. The Victor Talking Machine Company put a metal plate over this to cover the holes with some sort of explanation as to what those holes were for. Berliner, they sold this with these holes in it that looked a little unusual. If you're buying a new machine and it was already pre-drilled with some extra holes, it's a little strange. But as I said, this was right towards the tail end, and they probably figured they would just talk most people into upgrading immediately to the new model. It has a 10-inch turntable. It doesn't use a screw down like a lot of the earlier machines do, where they have a record hold down that screws onto the spindle here. It's a pretty good machine, as I say, looks similar to a lot of the Victor products. So I'm going to bring you in to take a closer look at it. This machine came with the upgraded automatic grand reproducer, which really sounds quite good. It's one that's only seen on Canadian machines. It has the metal elbow, which all of the machines went to, as opposed to the leather elbow. This one's kind of deteriorated. The rubber's kind of fallen apart. It has the Canadian Berliner Gramophone decal, which looks just like the Victor decal, but the word Berliner instead of Victor. The brake, which is very Victor-esque. There's the speed control. Crank is at the side. And then over here we can see the Canadian ID plate. And if we come over to the front here, you can see the pre-drilled holes. Not particularly attractive, but I guess most people would have changed it over to a back mount version. So this is a Berliner Canadian Model H.